One person may not be able to change the entire world, but one person carrying a message can shift how the world thinks, feels, and remembers. At 92 years old, Willie Nelson has lived long enough to witness triumph, heartbreak, reinvention, and survival in equal measure. He has buried close friends, lost fortunes that once seemed untouchable, endured public controversy, and faced private grief that would have shattered many others. Now, in the later chapters of his life, he speaks about death with a calm clarity that surprises those who expect fear or denial. When asked about mortality, he does not flinch. He answers plainly, almost casually. Losing his son, he has said, was the lowest point of his life. Everything else pales beside that pain. That acceptance did not appear overnight. It was built over decades of struggle, disappointment, resilience, and reflection. To understand why Willie Nelson speaks about death without fear, you have to begin long before the fame, before the outlaw image, before the braids and bandanas became cultural symbols. Willie Hugh Nelson was born on April 29, 1933, in Abbott, Texas, during the Great Depression. From the beginning, instability shaped his world. His parents, Merle and Ira Nelson, left when he was young, pursuing their own paths and leaving Willie and his sister Bobby in the care of their grandparents. At just 6 years old, he experienced abandonment in a way that leaves permanent marks. Promises were made about returning when times improved, but those better days never reunited the family. His father remarried. His mother built a separate life. Willie grew up with quiet questions about worth and belonging. His grandparents, William and Nancy Smothers, provided structure and love. They introduced him to music and gave him his first guitar at 6. Church hymns, gospel melodies, and country rhythms became the language through which he processed confusion and hurt. Music offered consistency when people did not. It gave him a sense of identity when his childhood felt uncertain. As a boy, Willie worked in Texas cotton fields under brutal heat. The labor was punishing, especially for a child. His hands bled from picking cotton. The sun burned relentlessly overhead. Those early years taught endurance. Pain was not something to dramatize. It was something to survive. In that dust and hardship, he learned a lesson that would echo throughout his life. If you get through the worst, you can get through anything. He wrote his first song at 7 and joined his first band at 10. On stage, he found something powerful. Audiences listened. They welcomed him. The boy who had been left behind discovered that strangers could offer validation that family had withheld. Still, the scars of abandonment shaped his worldview. He learned early not to rely too heavily on permanence. People leave. Circumstances change. Clinging too tightly invites heartbreak. By the early 1960s, Willie believed he had found stability in marriage. He married Martha Matthews, and together they had 3 children, Lana, Susie, and Billy. He chased success in Nashville, writing songs that would later become timeless classics. Artists like Patsy Cline recorded his work, but commercial success for Willie himself came slowly. Financial strain weighed heavily on his family. He worked odd jobs, sold encyclopedias door to door, pumped gas, and struggled to keep food on the table. The tension inside his marriage grew. Dreams did not cover bills. Arguments became frequent and harsh. Rejection in the music industry compounded stress at home. During one especially dark period, overwhelmed by failure and alcohol, Willie lay down in the middle of a Nashville street, hoping a car might end his despair. Drivers swerved around him. He survived. That moment forced a confrontation with himself. The marriage eventually collapsed under the strain. He carried forward another hard lesson. Even love can fracture under pressure. Then came the most devastating loss of his life. On December 25, 1991, while families across America celebrated Christmas, Willie's son Billy died by suicide at 33. Billy had struggled deeply with depression and the burden of expectation. Being the son of a legend can feel like living under a shadow that never shrinks. Despite efforts to help him, the darkness overtook Billy. The phone call shattered Willie. Grief settled into him in a way that never fully lifted. His sister Bobby, his lifelong musical partner, watched her brother absorb a sorrow beyond language. They did not process it publicly. They did not deliver grand speeches about healing. Instead, they shared a quiet understanding. Willie later acknowledged that losing his son was the defining low point of his life. Some pain does not strengthen you. It simply changes you. As if personal tragedy were not enough, financial catastrophe struck soon after. In 1990, the Internal Revenue Service presented Willie with a staggering tax bill of $32 million. Years of poor financial management by advisors had led to one of the largest tax debts in American history. Government agents seized property, records, instruments, and memorabilia. The ranch he loved, the piano he had written on, the tangible symbols of his success were taken. Friends advised bankruptcy. It would have been the practical solution. Willie refused. He chose instead to pay every dollar owed. He released an album titled The IRS Tapes, Who Will Buy My Memories, with proceeds going toward the debt. He toured relentlessly, accepted smaller venues, and worked continuously until the balance was cleared in 1993. The ordeal stripped away attachment to possessions. He realized that material success can vanish overnight. What remained untouchable was the music itself. Throughout his career, Willie also refused to stay silent on issues he believed mattered. He publicly challenged racial division in country music, supported artists across boundaries, advocated for marijuana legalization long before it was mainstream, and spoke out politically in ways that divided audiences. Each stance cost him fans and radio support, yet he valued authenticity over approval. Integrity to him outweighed comfort. Health struggles further deepened his perspective. Decades of smoking contributed to emphysema and repeated pneumonia. In 1981, he experienced a collapsed lung while vacationing in Hawaii. Over the years, respiratory issues became a recurring threat. In 2015, he underwent stem cell therapy aimed at improving lung function. Then, in 2022, he contracted COVID-19 at nearly 90 years old. With compromised lungs, the virus posed serious danger. Intensive treatments and vigilant care helped him recover. But facing the fragility of breath left an imprint. He understood mortality not as theory but as physical reality. Meanwhile, time claimed his peers. As a member of the legendary supergroup The Highwaymen alongside Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and Chris Christopherson, Willie once stood among giants. Jennings died in 2002. Cash passed in 2003. Christopherson died in 2024. One by one, his closest collaborators were gone. Being the last surviving highwayman is not triumph. It is solitude. It is memory. It is carrying stories others can no longer tell. Watching friends die reshaped Willie's understanding of fear. Death is not an abstract villain waiting in the distance. It is a certainty that arrives when the body finishes its work. He has seen dignity in departure. He has seen suffering prolong struggle. He has seen peace in acceptance.